for me personally, just doing about 10 years of events, hundreds of them, 99% of the time, the ROI on the vendor side is through retention.
Yep.
This is your chance to shake hands and kiss babies and actually not have to talk shop. This is a moment and an opportunity to also get to know them on a personal level.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me another episode of The Drive, Las Vegas edition. I have an amazing guest with me today. I have so famous. There you go. Hannah Lifson. Did I say it right?
You sure did.
Yes, I practiced.
Nailed it.
I practiced. Hannah, thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing me out on the strip. This is the best way to see it.
This is a good way to see it, 100%. All right, there we go. Now, Hannah, real quick, I love starting off these podcasts with little origin stories. Because I'm always fascinated. Because no one wakes up one morning and go, you know what I'm going to do for a career? I'm going to go in the automotive industry.
Right.
So I'd love to find out, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Sure. So it is a particularly funny story. Probably like most others that'll sit in this seat today. But I had just graduated college, and I always thought my dream job would be in sports marketing.
Okay.
Big sports girl, absolutely loved the idea of just marketing in general, branding, awareness. And I had a close friend, I'm born and raised in San Francisco, and she had seen an opportunity for the San Francisco Giants. I said, well, this could kind of be my window. I was just coming out of the minor leagues for sports marketing, and I thought this will be my next jump. But at the same time, living in San Francisco, digital and tech is, kind of the end all be all. So tons of opportunity there. And I saw another job posting for a tiny company that was just getting started up, but their ownership was some pretty big names and big hitters just in the industry. So I looked them up and thought, well, I'll apply to both. And you know what? Sure enough, I ended up getting both offers.
Oh, well, what a good position to be in.
And which wasn't bad. So I actually had to call back the Giants and say thank you, but no thank you. And they were kind of stunned, like they don't actually get too many no's. And lo and behold, I ended up getting into the digital automotive space that way.
Nice.
And most particularly, they needed help with a big party, a big event called NADA. And I
think
did.
I've heard of that before.
But I had no idea what that was, but I loved the event space. And I said, sure, I'll help you. And, I got to the party and I loved the people at the party, and they were all dealers.
Yep.
And I thought, these people know how to have fun. And, that was about 10 years ago, Jason. And I haven't left since.
Yeah, this is one of those businesses that gets under your skin, and it's really, really hard to get it out. Like, once you're in, it's like that episode from The Godfather. Once I'm in, they just won't let me out.
Yeah,
It's just sucked back into it.
A little oil in your blood, and here you are.
Yeah, it's exactly what happens. Well, let's talk a little bit about events, because our industry loves events. All right, dealerships love events. Vendors love events. When I think about it, just our industry, we're just the whole year long, just a big series of events. The OEMs love their events, Red Tag Days, Nissan My Choice. Like, they just all are doing events. But, I think the events, it's changed a lot. COVID, I think, obviously changed a lot of that, right? And, it's not enough that we just do an event. There has to be that value proposition behind the event. And I find that's where a lot of the industry sometimes struggle, but I'd love to get your thoughts about that.
Oh, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. Events are always a huge part of anyone's calendar, whether you're on the vendor side or on the dealer side. And as well as COVID, of course, things have changed, potentially having to be virtual. Now here we are, even just back in person. But I think now on both sides, what businesses as a whole are looking for is the ROI. Yes. What is that return on investment that I'm getting to you by either sending you from the dealer side or potentially by sponsoring on the vendor side? And I think there's a few strategies that anyone, regardless of title, position, or sort of segmented audience, can look at and implement to ensure that you're at least getting something. And whether that's a physical dollar amount, potentially on the vendor side, or knowledge and then bringing back to the dealership on the dealership side. I think, as we all know, look at us, we're in Las Vegas on the Strip. There's like flashing lights and signs and people trying to get you in everywhere. Like,
everybody's grabbing for your attention.
There are so many distractions, and that's just once you land.
Yeah.
Now think about once you get on the showroom floor, if you get to the showroom floor. I think a lot of it has to do with the planning and preparation, which can seem kind of silly initially at first. Like, let me look at the entire agenda. Let me try to talk to anyone that's going ahead of time. When I'm looking at a calendar for an event, I typically try to look, if I can, 90 days prior.
Okay.
And eventually I'd love to talk to you about 90 days post, but first and foremost, the 90 days prior. If I'm on the vendor side, who of my clients are going? Who of my prospects are going? And honestly, if neither you can find, who from my vendors that I can partner with are going? I think a lot of time vendors don't think about other partners in the space that they should be having those conversations with.
Yes.
This is a moment where you're already in the same location to have those joint collaborations, to have those conversations, to even just kind of do a pulse check on the industry, swap secrets. Are you in different markets? Are you in different sort of playing fields? Why would we all not get together if it's not a super heavily attended event?
100%.
And I think a lot of people forget about that. But if you're on the vendor side, again, who are my prospects? Who are my clients? Who are my partners? If I'm on the dealer side, who are my clients? Who are my prospects?
Yeah,
who are my vendors?
it's the same thing. It's who the audience is. See, I think sometimes we have a tendency of putting on events for ourselves, not for our audience, right? And because we do that, right? I don't know if it's any surprise or not, but there might be some egos in this industry.
One or two.
Maybe just a little. All right, but I think because of that, sometimes we end up hosting these great events, but they're for us.
Right.
But that is not the goal. I think the most successful events I've ever been to were very, very audience specific. They knew the audience. They took time to research the audience. They understand, what their likes and their dislikes and their hobbies and everything else was, and they cater directly to them. But I think we struggle to figure that out.
Well, I think, for example, we're here at Digital Dealer, and the name itself alludes to the type of demographic that we as vendors and we as dealers want to attend this event. They're digitally savvy. They want to know what's going on. They have a pulse and a read on the market. So as vendors, it's very easy for us in the digital space versus the traditional space to come in and say, our demographic's already here. What can we do to market to them? What can we do to excite them? How can we be there? So I think coming to the ones that that there's a focus on makes it a little bit easier.
It does for sure. But it's all about, it's the why. Sometimes I think we do events for the sake of doing events. All right. And I don't know if we necessarily, when you were talking about earlier, so ROI, like what can someone really, there are different types of events. There are events that are designed just straightly for awareness, and awareness is a great thing.
Never bad thing.
I'm thinking the last Digital Dealer in Tampa, at Matador, we rented that big yacht.
Of course.
With a big 60-foot sign on it. And, was it with the intent to close deals? That was a byproduct, but it was definitely to make sure it was like, hey, we're here, we've arrived,
Yes.
You should probably know our name.
That's for sure. And I think a little bit of that on the vendor side probably also comes with legacy. Like, have you been coming to an event for, the last 10, 15 years? Did you do all of the virtual events? But even if you're a startup, I think some of the same strategies you can hold on to and get that ROI. A few of them being, again, looking at that calendar, looking at the sessions, ensuring every single person, again, whether dealer or vendor, you have a set agenda. Are you sitting in on your competitor session? Because those are your same exact prospects. Are you going to your dealer sessions? Are they speaking on a panel and you want to know what else piques their interest? Are you looking and engaging with that audience? I also love to, as I mentioned, there's a lot of distraction here. Are you taking that schedule and not just skimming it once you get here, but also putting it on your calendar so you're continually getting those reminders? And if you're at a larger space, like, say a convention hall, are you even packing in, like the 20 to 30 minutes for how long it'll take to get from booth to booth?
Yep.
You want to allow for that time to network, to mingle, to get there, but always staying on top of that schedule. And I think when you're looking at your schedule and you're pre-planning, don't just think about yourself, as you were mentioning, but think about the people back at the dealership. Say you're typically at the front of the house. Don't forget about your friends at the back of the house. You know, a lot of times service directors aren't asked to come to these conferences right away. It's the general manager. Touch back in with the service. Hey, do you have your eye on anything? Is there anyone I could meet with? Here's the list of vendors who have booths. Get them involved. Same thing with the owner.
Strategy.
Thank you so much for bringing me out here. I'm so happy to be this liaison, in our case, a digital liaison. Is there anyone that you have ever tried to, do a beta test with? Is there anyone that you want me to get in front of for you? Let me know. I'm happy to sit in on their session. I'm happy to sit down with them on your behalf, and I'll bring back my insights. It's having that plan and starting those conversations that sometimes, as we all know, are hard to do over email. But it's bringing in the full circle of, the departments as well as on the vendor side. Talk to your CEO who sent you. What can
it's
you
intentional
bring back?
connection.
Correct.
Intentional connection.
Yes.
All right. I find sometimes you come to big events like this, and you almost forget the intentional part of it all, and just kind of like, okay, I'm here. What's your name? But
Right.
no, you're 100% right. If you're going to get the most out of an event like this, you got to come. You have to be intentional with your time.
Yeah, and I like to at least put a couple hours of free time on my calendar to kind of mingle. I like to walk the showroom floor, so I do give myself some breaks here and there. But in general, I think if everybody has that stacked calendar, at least for, 2, 3, 4 hours, that's what's going to set you up for success. Because you, bare minimum, have at least 5, 6, 7 insights to bring back. But I will also say, don't forget to stack your breakfast, lunches, and dinners.
I know.
Coffee's in between.
That is
Like, I'm amazed how many of these dealers. I had coffee this morning at 6 a.m. with a dealer.
Right.
And, not all of them
Yeah.
are like that, but there are a few, and you can kind of seek them out, and they're early risers. They like to get to the gym and do that. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
So I already had 2 meetings before 8 o'clock.
You gotta meet the consumer where they want to be
That's right.
met.
Yes, there you go. That's it. You got to meet the consumer where they want to be met.
Dealer language. We just need to apply it to vendor language. Like, we still have to meet our business contact at where they want to be met in order to shop potentially. Nothing's changed. We're just applying their methods to them.
Speaking of events, and I see this happen a lot with dealers and vendors actually, is there's this, acquisition or retention. And it's like we will always lean towards acquisition. It's just all about, I gotta acquire new business, I gotta acquire new business, I gotta acquire new business, right? And how often, because I don't see it enough, where both dealers and vendors are investing substantial amount of money, or just usually a small part of their budget in retention events.
Oh God, Jason, you hit the nail on the head. For me personally, just doing about 10 years of events, hundreds of them, 99% of the time the ROI on the vendor side is through retention.
Yep.
This is your chance to shake hands and kiss babies and actually not have to talk shop. This is a moment and an opportunity to also get to know them on a personal level.
Yes.
I want to know about the kids. I want to know about your wife or your husband. What vacation did you take? For me personally, when I come to these events, I typically don't talk shop at all.
Yeah.
Because I really do genuinely want to get to know my clients on a personal level, so that there's always that thread, that retention that you're talking
shop
about.
on a Zoom call or
Exactly.
whatever.
I can do that in my office.
Yes.
This is a moment where it's so much easier to shake your hand and have a drink and cheers and celebrate, all the little wins that have been going on personally.
Celebrate. There you go. That's the key word, right? And you know what? I think vendors maybe do a little bit better than dealers, but dealers still think retention, but it's never really a retention. It's retention wrapped up in acquisition.
Yes.
It's retention in the sense of, I want to retain you by you buying another car.
Yeah.
But I think that's maybe some dealers could probably learn from the vendor side, is that retention is just say thank you.
Yeah, this is the service side of the business. Pun totally intended. The car has already been bought, but I want you to always come back to my dealership to get it serviced.
Yes.
And if I don't know you personally, I met with someone, he's the CMO of a large dealer group in the Midwest, and he said, Hannah, listen, I make enough money and I know enough people to only do business with the ones that I like. And And I've always taken, that was years ago, and I've always taken that to heart, because you can always switch. You can always find someone new, but if there's that genuine connection and they truly believe in you or what you do, it's a lot harder to break that bond.
Oh, well, without them, we wouldn't have a business, you know? Prior to COVID, I had the opportunity for many years work with, it was an auto mall who annually put on a carnival.
Oh.
And it was such a great community
the
thing.
town?
Yeah. So
Very cool.
there are 11 dealerships in this auto mall. They all pitched in, and the entire auto mall shut down. The roads were shut down, and just the entire thing turned into a carnival with absolutely no charge. A lot of community involvement. The mayor would come out. It just
Cool.
but it was never with the intent to sell them something.
That's right.
It was just a once a year intentional time, all right, just to
Keyword.
connect with the community and have fun.
Right, and for me, and probably for you too, doing this kind of stuff, that's what events are for. At least in our positions. I understand there has to be a bottom line probably on both sides of the
But
coin.
I do find that is measurable. Like
Yes.
there are measurable bottom lines to it, you know. Not only just in the retention of your existing customers,
Yeah.
but also just in the continued, servicing
Yes.
or development of new customers within your marketplace, you know.
Completely agree. And a big component of that, I think a lot of times people won't even see a deal signed, within the first 20 days or even on the showroom floor, which I think is ridiculous. But, a 20, 30, 90 day. For me personally, I track ROI starting at 90 days and then up to 180.
Oh yeah, because it's a reverb. People got to think like events are like dropping a rock into water, and there's just kind of ripples effects that kind of goes out.
And it can be years and years of that. So it's definitely about the tracking, the maintaining, the staying in front of, and genuinely just having a good time and interest. I think at the end of the day, the car business in general is a people business. And that's whether you're selling the car or that's
both on the
whether
vendor
you're
side and the dealer
or
side.
you're selling the technology. And I think people want to do business with the people that they know and the people that they like.
So
Be a person, is what you're saying?
Okay, I'll take it. It's not my tagline, but I'm there for it.
But I mean, isn't that kind of just
Yes.
be a person? Don't
Yeah.
don't have this robotic perspective to like, we're gonna host this event and we're gonna spend $40,000 and we're gonna need to close $20,000 worth of contracts to keep doing it now.
No. I think it's really just comes down to have a strategy, have a schedule, be intentional with what you're doing.
yes.
And be out there. Like, be open to meeting new people, chit-chatting, having a drink, networking.
You know what? I think that's a good point too. I think the key there is be you.
Yeah.
Like I think people you can smell an event is not really authentic. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Like it's got a smell about it. Don't you agree? Like it's like, okay, I know why you're doing this.
Right.
But it's like if you're going to host the event, you host the event in an authentic way, and I think that brings substantial value. But to your point, you got to define the why you're doing it.
Yeah.
You got to spend a lot of time defining the audience. I find we kind of skim over that really quick.
Right.
Well, it's just everybody. No.
No, everybody's got a job. I don't care if you're the owner. I don't care if you're the CEO or if it's your first day with the company. Everybody's got an agenda and everybody's got a position to play.
And collaboration is huge.
Yeah.
I remember we did. I helped some dealerships do some collaborations events for. There was a baby store, right?
Okay.
So we hosted quarterly a baby seat installation safety, event, right?
okay.
So you can come in, you can get a professional actually install the seat, but actually show you what you need to do, right? And then there was another one we did that was a lot of fun too. We collaborated with a local barbecue reseller. So they sold high-end barbecues, Vikings and pit bosses and all kinds of stuff like that. And we'd have quarterly barbecue instructional sessions. It was fun, right? It was
good,
just-
genuine good time.
just fun, But that's right. It's just a good time. Well, Hannah, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our conversation because we're just pulling up to the hotel right now. But for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now who would maybe love to connect with you, learn a bit more about you, what's the best way to do so?
Absolutely. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active. It's just Hannah Lifson. Send me a message. As long as it doesn't look like spam, I am there. I'm happy to connect. Always open to collaboration.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah, so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.